afternoon and thanks for joining me on Word at Noon. My name is Remy Allen. The Central Bank of Nigeria has finally concluded plans to release all 1,000 naira, 500 naira and 200 naira notes in its custody to deposit money banks. The CBN's latest decision came several weeks after the Supreme Court ordered that old 1,000 naira, 500 naira and 200 naira notes should remain legal tender until December 31, 2023. Top officials of the CBN and commercial banks confirmed that the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele had directed the DMBS to begin the disbursement of old 1,000 naira, 500 naira and 200 naira notes to members of the public effective today. Sources at the meeting said the CBN would also be cancelling all the controversial cash withdrawal limits it put in place in recent months. President Muhammadu Buhari has urged Muslims to use Ramadan season to project the best and finest virtues of Islam by personal conduct and not precepts. In a goodwill message to mark the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan, Buhari sent greetings and best wishes to the Muslim faithful as they commence 30 days of Ramadan fasting. He urged Muslims to use the opportunity to put the best teachings of Islam into practice, such as kindness and love of humanity. President Buhari added that this is an important occasion in the spiritual life of Muslims. Hence, they must share food and drinks with the less fortunate, because by sharing these blessings with others, Allah will reward all good deeds. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the redesignation of the State House Clinic back to Medical Center. Permanent Secretary State House Tijani Umar disclosed this in Abuja after a pre-commissioning inspection of the new presidential wing of the State House Medical Center by Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, Bas Mustafa, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, and Minister of State Finance, Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba. In March 2019, the President had given approval that the State House Medical Center at Sokoro, which was facing challenges with funding, deterioration of infrastructure and equipment, be scaled down to a clinic until the challenges were addressed. Umar disclosed that all is set for the inauguration of the new world-class facility by the President to add to the growing number of completed and commissioned legacy projects of this administration. He added that the calibration, testing of equipment, and training of medical personnel are ongoing, and the presidency is determined to ensure that the center remains fully operational and well maintained after inauguration. The All Progressives Congress in Adamawa State has suspended the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, for losing his polling unit to the People's Democratic Party at the presidential and governorship polls. Announcing the suspension at a press conference in Yola, Chairman of Gwadabawa Ward said Mustafa was not committed to APC's victory at the presidential election. He stated that the indefinite suspension followed complaints from his ward, adding that no individual could be above the party that gave them the platform. In a twist to the announcement of the indefinite suspension slammed on the SGF, the State Working Committee of the party, under the leadership of the acting chairman, Samaila Tadaus, declared the announcement as unconstitutional, null and void, and of no effect. The Adamawa State APC SWC also announced the directive on the Local Government Executive Committee of Yola North to constitute a disciplinary committee to immediately investigate and recommend appropriate action. The United States Federal Reserve has announced its latest interest rate hike, a move aimed at lowering inflation by making borrowing more expensive for consumers. The increase of 1/4 percentage point sets the U.S. Central Bank's benchmark overnight interest rate in the 4.75 to 5% range, its highest level in 15 years.
Left unaddressed can undermine confidence in healthy banks and threaten the ability of the banking system as a whole. At a basic level, Silicon Valley Bank management failed badly. They grew the bank very quickly. They exposed the bank to significant liquidity risk and interest rate risk.
This was a very unusual set of circumstances that Silicon Valley Bank faced. It appears that they had significant interest rate risk that they were subject to, and an exceptionally high, over 90% of their deposits were uninsured.
I think this is going to only add fuel to the fires.
Although the Bank of England was expecting the Consumer Prices Index to fall from 10.1% to 9.9%, inflation actually jumped to 10.4%. The increase was driven by food and drink prices. The Office for National Statistics blamed that on supermarket shortages last month, which drove up the prices of vegetables and salads. Rising alcohol prices in pub and restaurants also drove up inflation. Odraya Sawyer reports.
It is as hot as a summer's day in the greenhouses of the Lee Valley, but the harvest has been delayed in this side of England.
So our energy bills went from circa £700,000 per year to last year's energy bills just under £3 million, maybe £2.9 million a year just on gas.
They should be picking tomatoes and peppers here already, but heating 22 acres of glass house through the coldest months wasn't viable for growers, squeezed by higher costs and fixed price contracts from retailers.
We will be looking at obviously energy prices to see when we finish the season, so if come August energy prices are starting to rise, we'll probably make a decision to finish the season early again.
Consumer price inflation in the UK rose to 10.4% in February, defying expectations of a steady decline from recent historic highs. Rising food prices were the biggest driver, increasing 18% and accounting for fully 2% of total inflation. This increase in inflation has come as a real surprise to economists, and it's food for thought for the Bank of England as it meets to discuss interest rates. It will have to balance tackling what is happening here, raising rates to keep inflation down, with the risk of causing more stress in the financial system. The hospitality industry is feeling it too. The George's Power Pub Park Community Hub. It is squeezed by the competition of scarce workers and is driving up core inflation as well as food and energy prices.
It's really difficult to find reliable, cheerful, happy, motivated staff at the cost that we can offer. It's simple as that. We're working 24/7 without a wage, minimum wage going up next month.
For the regulars, it is not just the price of beer going up.
I'm a pensioner, and without buying food or anything of that nature, if I don't work, my overheads, my outgoings are more than my income.
Every time I go and do a weekly shop, which I did today, it's £10, £20, whatever more for just the basic stuff.
These figures should end any cozy assumptions about the path of inflation. The campaign against rising costs just got more complicated. Oduayo Sawyer, Osrc News.
French President Emmanuel Macron says the controversial changes to pension rules will be implemented by the end of the year. His government's plan to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64 has led to weeks of demonstrations across France. A 9th round of strikes and national protests will take place today.
I don't enjoy doing this, but it is out of a sense of duty that I committed to this. By symbolically defying France's working class, Mr. Macron has highlighted his contempt for a part of the population, contempt that was the hallmark of his pensions bill.
The government is acting as if nothing is happening on the streets, and that as if having millions of people protesting peacefully doesn't mean anything and doesn't change anything.
It's not just an education issue, it's all public services which are being really destroyed by these neoliberal policies today. So this rage has stacked up, and now people are claiming the streets because there's no other way to be heard today.
And finally, on sports, the Guinea Football Federation, FGF, has congratulated the country's under-23 football team following their 0-0 draw against Nigeria on Wednesday. Nigeria and Guinea played out a 0-0 draw in their 2023 African Under-23 Cup of Nations qualifying fixture at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. Nigeria's Oguni Yomojesu free kick rattled the bar of the opposition in the first half. However, in the second half, Guinea had better chances to score. The reverse fixture will hold next week Tuesday in Morocco. Morocco will host the 2023 Under-20 AFCON in November. And with that sports story, we conclude Word at Noon. Thanks so much for watching. Good afternoon.